Hello students. In this session, we are going to start the first chapter, Growing Plants. As you all know, the plants form a major part of our environment. We all depend on plants to survive. This helps us in many ways. Yes, so when we see our environment, when we see our surroundings, so the major part of the surroundings is filled with plants. We all depends on plants to survive. Yes, because plants gives us fruits, vegetable, food. Yes, they help us in many ways, like they give us food to eat, medicine to cure, oxygen to breathe, and fibers for cloth, etc. Therefore, plants are all called our green friends. So there will be a question like, why plants are called green friends? So you need to write, plants gives us food to eat, medicine to cure, oxygen to breathe, and fibers for cloth. Therefore, plants are called our green friends. We cannot live without plants, so we must grow more and more plants and should take care of them. More plants would mean a continuous supply of plant products to meet our needs. As you all know, we cannot live without plants because plants gives us the main component what we need is food. Without food, we cannot live. So we must grow more and more plants. So if we grow more and more plants, we get more and more food. More plants would mean continuous supply of plant products that meet our needs. So until and unless they meet our needs, we need to grow the plants. We know that most plant produces a large number of seeds. These seeds germinate and grow into new plant. New plants can also grow from other parts of plants like stem, root, and leaves. In this chapter, we will learn how new plants grow from seeds and other parts of plant. As you all know, most plants produces a large number of seeds, yes? Almost all the plants or trees produces seeds, and these seeds will germinate or will grow into a new plants. And these new plants can also grow from other parts of plants like stem, root, and leaves. We can also grow the plants, new plants from stem, root, and leaves. So in this chapter, we are going to study how these plants can be grown from seeds and other parts of plant. The new plants can be reproduced by different parts of the plant. So let me understand by seeing the video how we can grow new plants from different parts of the plant.
Now plants reproduce in many different ways. Flowering plants will produce seeds, while mushrooms and molds will produce structures called as spores, and some plants even reproduce with the help of their body parts. So let us see how reproduction in plants takes place in various ways. So when you see reproduction in plants, plants reproduce either from their stem, from their leaves, from the roots, or from seeds. Now let us look at them one by one and study. The first one we will be seeing is reproduction from stem. Let's see. Now when you see the example of potato and ginger, these are underground stem. Okay, so you must have noticed that there are very small shoots that emerge from a potato or a ginger, right? If you haven't, then go to the kitchen and see it next time your mummy brings potatoes or ginger. You will observe that potatoes have several small buds on them, which are called as eyes. So these small buds on the potato are called as buds or eyes. And each bud can develop into a new plant. So you pluck out one bud and you put it into soil, it can develop into a new plant. Now some farmers and gardeners, apart from using buds, they will take cuttings of stem and plant that. Now, what kind of stem do they take? They take a piece of a stem that has two buds in them. So if you see this is one bud and this is another bud. So they take a stem which has two buds and they plant it, and this will start growing into a new plant. This method is called as stem cutting. Examples of plants that can be grown like this is rose, hibiscus, bougainvillea, sugarcane, and crotons. Now, another very interesting way in which plants reproduce from stem is the example of strawberries. If you see strawberries, they have long stems that run along the ground. If you see, this is actually a stem. Okay, so this is another stem. This is another stem. So they have long stem that runs along the ground, and each of these stem gives rise to a small plant. So these stems that give rise to the plant are what is called as runners. Okay, so this is another method of reproduction by stem. So what are the methods? Either through buds or eyes. This is the first one. The second one is through stem cutting, and the third one is by using runners. Okay, let's move on to the next method of reproduction, from leaves. Now, when you take leaves, for example, we will take the example of the plant called as bryophyllum. Now, bryophyllum plant has very thick leaf. You can see here, right? This is a very thick leaf, and on the edges of the leaves, it has very tiny plantlets or very tiny new plants that grow from them. These are called as buds. Okay, these small plants that you see on the edges of the leaf are nothing but buds. Now, when this leaf dries and falls onto soil, they will all start growing into a new plant. You can see here there are small plants that are coming, right? These are coming from dried leaves that fall on soil. So this is a method of reproduction from leaves where the example is bryophyllum. The next one that we will see is reproduction from roots. For reproduction from roots, we will take the example of sweet potato. Now let us try supporting the sweet potato in a jam bottle with the help of toothpicks. Okay, so we simply poke toothpicks and keep it in such a way that the bottom of the potato will dip into water. So we fill this jam bottle with water, we support the sweet potato with toothpick, and we keep it on this. After some days, we will end up with this. You can see the roots will start forming and the plant will grow bigger. So this is the method of reproduction with the help of roots, where this is nothing but a root. When you keep it in water, it further develops and gives rise to the entire plant. Now let us see the next one, which is reproduction from seeds. Okay, so we have reproduction from seeds. Now we know that most plants will reproduce with the help of seeds. So where are these seeds found? Where can you find seeds? These seeds are found inside the fruits, and they will come in different shapes and different sizes. Okay, if you take so many examples of seeds around us, we can see seeds of peaches, we can see seeds of papaya, we have seeds of custard apple. So you can see these are all inside the fruit, right? On the other side, we also have hard seeds such as these. Now, when these seeds are sown into soil, they will start growing into a new plant. So this is how reproduction from seeds is achieved. Now that we have seen seeds, let us also go into what is the structure of a seed. Let us see the structure of a seed. Now, if you look at a seed of bean or gram, they are quite hard, right? And they cannot be broken. But the same thing, you soak it in water overnight and you come back and look at it the next morning, they're very soft and moist and they swell up, right? They become bigger. This is because seeds will absorb all the water. If you have to take a look at the structure of seed, you can see right here, the outermost covering is called as the seed coat. So you can see here, this is the seed coat. The brown color covering around it is called as the seed coat. Now this seed coat is a protective layer and it protects the seed from any damage. When you go deeper, On one side of the seed there is a structure called as a scar. Okay, so if you see in this, here there might be a scar. You look at any seed, it will have a scar. Okay, now this scar is actually the point at which the seed was attached to the fruit. Okay, so the scar is the point at which the seed was attached to the fruit. Now just above the scar there will be a small hole that is present. Okay, there'll be a small hole just above the scar. This hole will allow for the entry of water into seeds. I told you, right, when you soak the seeds overnight, they will pull in all the water and they will swell up. That is because all the water enters through this hole that is present. Now, if you try to look inside, the seed will have two small seed leaves called as cotyledons. Okay, so if you look at the structure, when you try to open it, like if you take your peanut seed for example, when you cut it open, it looks like this. These are two seed leaves which are called as cotyledons. Okay, so inside this cotyledon you will find this tiny baby plant which is called as the embryo. So you will find a tiny baby plant called as the embryo in between these two cotyledons. Now when you see the embryo will have the baby roots and the baby shoots, and this particular seed will be protected and it is being provided with nutrition from these cotyledons. So this baby plant is being protected and food is provided to the baby plant from the cotyledons. So you can see how the seed is not just protecting but also providing food for the baby plant. Now let us see what is germination, or how seeds will germinate to give rise to a plant. Now we saw that baby plant is present inside. How will this baby plant grow? We will see now. Now when you talk about germination, when seeds get enough water, air and warmth, they will grow into a new plant. Even if one of this is missing, they will not germinate. Okay, so seeds use food that is stored in the cotyledons to grow. The growth of the baby plant from a seed is called as germination. So you should remember very clearly that when we refer to germination, that is nothing but baby plant which starts growing from a seed. Okay, in future whenever somebody uses the word germination, you should remember what it is. Now this baby plant, once it starts growing, it is called as the seedling. So with this we complete the first part of the chapter plant life. Let us see what all we have studied. So we first saw different methods of reproduction. Under that, the first one that we saw was reproduction through stem, where we took the example of potato, which was through buds. We saw stem cutting. Examples of rose and hibiscus are a few of them. Then we saw runners of strawberry plant, right? These were all methods of reproduction from stem. Then we spoke about reproduction from leaves, where we saw bryophyllum plant as an example. Then we spoke about reproduction from roots. What is this plant? This is nothing but sweet potato. We saw how sweet potato grows from its roots. Then we spoke about how reproduction from seeds is achieved, right? If you remember, we spoke about fleshy fruits like peach and papaya, where we saw that the seeds grow up into the plants. And finally, when we spoke about seeds, we saw the structure of seed. This was the structure of seed, where we spoke about the different parts of it. And lastly, we saw how baby plants are got from germination. So we saw how exactly germination occurs. Now, when I talk about seed dispersal, the first question that comes to our mind is, why do we have to disperse seeds? Why seed dispersal? Now, if you see plants, if they grow very close to each other, then they will not get enough space, air, water, food and sunlight. So because of this, they cannot grow properly into healthy plants. For this reason, seeds have to disperse and move away from their mother plants so that they can grow healthily. So this means by which seeds scatter is called as seed dispersal. Now there are various ways in which seeds get dispersed. So that is what we will study in this part of the chapter. First is by wind, dispersal by wind. Second is water dispersal. Then is animal dispersal. Then we will talk about explosion of fruits. So even explosion of fruits lead to dispersion of seeds. In these, wind, water, and animals are considered as the agents of dispersal. Now let us study each of these one by one now with examples. First, we will look at wind dispersal. Now when we see wind dispersal, we will notice that seeds that are scattered by wind are generally small or they're very light. So only if the seeds are light and small, they can be dispersed by wind. For this, the examples will be dandelion and cotton. So we have dandelion here and we have cotton here. They have long fine hair that surrounds them. You can see here, right? They have long fine hair that surrounds them, and this fine hair helps the wind to carry them away. While there are two more seeds such as maple seeds and drumstick seeds. If you see maple seed, this is the maple seed, while this is the drumstick seed. If you see, they have two wing-like structures. Even here you can see that this is one wing and this is another wing. So this wing-like structure that is present helps them to float in air. So in these two manners, either by long fine hair or with wing-like structures, seeds get dispersed by wind. The next method of dispersal is water dispersal. Now, if you talk about water dispersal, the seeds of plants that grow in or around water are generally dispersed by water. Now, in this, plants that disperse seeds in water generally also have fruits and seeds that will generally float on water. Examples for these are lily, lotus, and coconut. So you have lily seeds here, you have lotus seeds here, and you have coconut seeds here. Now when you see coconut as an example, coconut fruit has air trapped in its husk. So if you see inside this husk, there'll be a lot of air trapped. That's the reason why it makes it easy for coconut to float in water. Now this water helps in carrying the seeds to very far away places. So with this, it is very easily scattered to very far places from the mother plant. So this is water dispersal. The next one is called as animal dispersal. Now we all love eating fleshy fruits like mango, cherry and guava, right? Now after we eat this, we just throw away the seeds. Now this is one way in which seeds can be dispersed. When we throw them away, they get moved to various places and go far away from the mother plant. Similarly, these seeds are generally hard, and when animals eat such fruits, the seeds don't get digested. They come out through the waste, and once they come out through the waste, they start growing into a new plants. Examples for this is guavas and berries, where animal dispersal is seen. On the other hand, some seeds also have stiff hair or spines or hook-like structures which help them to cling on to our clothes or to animal fur, and by this they get carried to different places. Now if you see the picture here, you will understand. If you see here, this is nothing but a seed that has spines and it is clinging on to the fur of an animal. So along with this animal, wherever the animal moves, the seed is also being transported. The same thing, if you see here, this seed has hook-like structures which are present, because of which it is clinging on to clothes, right? Once it clings to clothes, or once it sticks to the clothes, it will move wherever this human being moves. So it is also being transported. So this is a method in which dispersal is got through animals. Now let us look at the next one, which is dispersal by explosion fruits. Some fruits explode when they dry and seeds get scattered away from the mother plant. It's more like the explosion of any cracker, where once explosion happens, all the paper flies everywhere, right? Similarly, when these fruits explode, once they dry, the seeds will get scattered away from the mother plant. For this, the common examples are balsam. You can see balsam plant here. This is how the plant looks, whereas once it has exploded, you can see how the pod has curled up and all the seeds are released. Same way you see peas. The next example is geranium. If you see geranium, this whole thing will be covered. Once this fruit dries up, the pod will explode and release these seeds out of it. The last example is touch me not. This is the fruit of the touch me not. Once it explodes, again it will curl and then it will release the seeds out.
Yes, next we have agriculture. In our daily life, we eat different types of food, including vegetables, fruits, pulses, meat, egg, etc. So daily we eat different types of vegetables, different varieties of vegetables, different varieties of fruits, different varieties of pulses, cereals, meat, egg, milk. Yes, we also wear different types of cloths. We wear cotton cloths, we wear woolen cloths, silk cloths. Yes or no? We get all these things from plants and animals. To get these things in sufficient quantity, a large number of plants and animals are needed. If you need to get all these things, we need to grow more plants and animals. The mass production of plants and for food and other purposes is called agriculture. The mass production of plants for food and other purposes is called agriculture. This is the definition of agriculture. You should note down. Here, we are only discussing the agricultural activities related to plants. Various stages of agriculture are as follows. So in this lesson, we are going to study only the agricultural activities. What are all activities involved in agriculture we are going to study. First one is flowing. So what do you mean by flowing? Flowing is nothing but the process of loosening the soil. The process of loosening the soil is called as flowing. So this can be done with the help of animals and flow. This is called as flow. Next, manuring. What is manuring? Adding manures to the soil or adding nutrients to the soil is called as manuring. Next process is sowing seeds. After manuring, what you can do? You can sow the seeds. The healthy seeds are sown in soil. Plants grow from these seeds. Next, irrigation. It supplies sufficient water plants for growth. It supplies water. So, watering the plants, watering the crops is called as irrigation. Spraying pesticides. Why we need to spray pesticides? To kill the pest and protect the crops. To kill the pests and protect the crops, we need to spray pesticides. And the last concept is harvesting. When the crop is ready, it is cut and gathered. What is harvesting? Cutting down of the grown crops is called as harvesting. Next, plants of same kind grow on large scale at a particular place during a particular time is called as crop. What is crop? Plants of same kind grown on large scale at a particular place during a particular time are called crops. For example, crop of wheat means all plants grown in the field are of wheat. So what do you mean by plants of same kind grown in a large scale? Crop of wheat means all the plants grown in the field will be wheat. The soil of particular place and season affect the growth and development of crops. So what affects the growth and development of crops? Two things. One is soil of particular place and season. Let us understand individually. First one is soil. How soil is going to affect the growth and development of crops? Soil is an important factor for the growth of plants. A crop grows well in one kind of soil but poorly in other. For example, rice and jute grow better in loamy and clayey soil. So to grow rice and jute, we need loamy and clayey soil, which can hold plenty of water. Why we need to grow only in loamy and clay soil? Because they can hold a plenty of water. Wheat need alluvial soil rich in humus. If we need to grow wheat, we need alluvial soil. Why? Alluvial soil is rich in humus. Cotton plants grow best in the black soil. If you want to grow cotton, you need to have a black soil in a field. Jowar and bajra are grown in sandy soil found in Rajasthan. So to grow jowar and bajra, we need sandy soil, which is found in Rajasthan. So this is how the soil also depend or affect the growth and development of crops. Tea plants need most moist soil of hilly regions like Assam, Darjeeling and Nilgiris. If you want to grow tea plants, tea crop, you need a moist soil, where you can find in hilly regions like Assam, Darjeeling and Nilgiris. Next, the maize plant need alluvial soil to grow. As wheat needs, maize also needs alluvial soil because alluvial soil is rich in humus. Coconut tree grows well in coastal areas having sandy soil. To grow coconut in large scale, we need a coastal areas where you can find a sandy soil. Understood? So this is how soil can affect the growth and development of crops. Next we have season. How seasons will affect. A particular crop may grow well in one season and may not grow in other season. So different crops are grown in different season. Yes or no? All the crops cannot be grown in all the regions, all the seasons. Understood? So crops that are grown from June to October, that is in summer season, are called kharif crops. Example, rice, maize and cotton. So these are nothing but kharif crops. These crops depends on the monsoon rains. So they depends on monsoon rains. Crops that are grown from November to April, that is in winter season, they are called as rabi crops. Example, wheat, gram and pea. So these are nothing but the rabi crops. So these crops do not depend on monsoon rains. If they ask for difference, you can write 3 points. In which month they have grown, examples, and does they depend on monsoon or not. Understood? This completes your first chapter, growing plants. Hope everyone understood. Thank you.